Hi there, everyone. My name is Nontuthuko Mhlungu, and welcome to another episode of A Special Brew, the insurance chat show with a difference. Yes, Simon has got his cup of coffee, and I have mine here as well. So on today's episode, we've got some of our own professionals, and we're going to be unpacking the question around purpose. What is our purpose as an industry, and how are we contributing to society? Unfortunately, the insurance industry has developed a bad rep over the years. And it really doesn't help. So what we want to do today is to shed some light on some of the good stories. And we know there are some. Why are these not getting told often enough? So to do that here today, my esteemed panel is going to help me to unpack this question and just have some very real conversation. So without further ado, welcome to all of you, and thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Nani.
Thanks, Nani.
Thanks, guys. So maybe let me start, and and anyone can just jump in and answer this. To all of you, was getting into the insurance ever an aspiration of yours, realistically speaking? Simon, maybe let's start with you.
No, I mean, to be honest, and I've actually seen it with my own kids as they leave school over the last couple of years. I actually had no idea what I wanted to do when I left school. I went straight into university without really having any idea of what it would be like to work in that profession. It didn't really work out, and then at that time, so this was kind of early 90s, I just remember my dad saying to me, hey, everyone seems to have good careers who work in banking or insurance. Why don't you apply for some jobs in those sectors? And I did. So I did banking and insurance. And I definitely, when I thought, oh, banking sounds a lot sexier than insurance. I mean, I'm a banker versus I'm an insurance guy. I was still single back then as well, so I was really worried about the optics, if you know what I mean. Insurance didn't promise a full date diary, if you get my meaning. And I'm almost embarrassed to say that I really accepted the first one that came back to me, and that was working for an insurance company. So it wasn't aspirational, it was more of a functional thing.
Started out that way, and how many years later?
Yeah, well, so I started in 92 in insurance.
Wow.
So yeah, almost 30 years ago.
Sure.
Oh my God, I'm going to get one of those awards at the insurance dinner.
My goodness, you can say it's been a while, and obviously it's a good place to be. Otherwise, you wouldn't have stayed as long as you did. Danny, maybe let's come to you.
Sure.
Why are you here? How did you come to be here?
Well, it was like many people. I think it was a by fluke, absolute chance. I left school in 1993. Due to circumstance, I needed to go and work. My mom wasn't able to send me to university. So luckily, I only waited 8 months, got a temping job at Alexander Forbes Healthcare, who was a fairly new division, lots of youngsters. And I was supposed to be there for a temping job for 1 month, answering the switchboard, and within a couple of days they asked me, are you keen, would you stay? You'll be working in our call center type environment, answering queries regarding claims on one particular medical scheme that isn't in existence anymore. And yeah, so I stayed, and from there, my FD at the time, his name was Eddie, got hold of my mom and said, listen, your daughter needs a car, we want to promote her. So that's how I ended up getting a car, because I wasn't particularly interested in driving anywhere. It was wonderful to be chauffeured, and catch buses and stuff. So it really was a matter of, I needed to get a job, and fortune shone its bright light on me, and I got into an industry that I thoroughly enjoyed, dealing with the humans, not just the human interaction in terms of team members and learning from the people around me, but I got to deal with real life situations where human beings were involved, and it was health related. Yeah. And I've always had a keen interest in humans, mind, body, soul, what makes them tick, how their bodies work, how the mind has an impact on body and whatnot. So for me, I was able to be that doctor, if you will, or nurse, without formally having done all of the training at university. So I was blessed. I was very blessed to get into the industry. I did use my calculator. I've been in the industry for 26 years now, in some shape or form.
Wow.
So yeah, so I was in the healthcare environment for 12 years, and then the rest of it moved out of health into the short-term environment, but still dealing with the human form, the physical body.
Yeah.
So I don't think there is another line of insurance that probably gets me as excited about bodies.
Wow.
I don't get excited about car tires that hit potholes or money that's stolen out of a till. I'm sure there's other people that get super stoked, when they get those types of claims in. But yeah, no, I like to stick with the human bodies.
Yeah. Wow, Daddy, that is so, you've really just made insurance sound so sexy right now. And hold on to that, because that's going to be my follow-up question. But Junior, coming to you, what is your story around how you came to be in the insurance industry?
Actually, my story is similar to Danny's. I also started out in insurance by fluke as well, where I was temping for 3 months. In fact, I was supposed to just fill in for someone in the filing room, and when I saw that there was in fact something interesting that everyone was doing, this insurance thing, and my uncle was there, and my grandfather was in insurance industry as well. So I started asking questions. What is it that you guys are doing here? And then they started explaining that we're insuring cars, buildings, and everything. And I thought, interesting. Let me see what it is that you guys are actually doing. And then they introduced me to COP. I started then studying COP while I was temping. And they thought, okay, you're showing interest, then come in, let's see if you can actually start for about 6 months, and let's see. And then that's how basically I started in insurance, and I've been in insurance since. I didn't find anything else interesting except insurance.
Wow. And the rest they say is history, right?
Yeah.
So coming back to this whole, okay, yeah, I haven't been in it as long as you all have. I think I've got a total of 4 years and counting. So, I mean, yeah, look, it's really been great so far. I did leave and come back, which also speaks to the fact that, it is such an awesome industry. So coming back to the question.
You can never leave.
Sorry?
You can't.
I said you can never leave. It's like the Hotel California.
You are stuck.
Yeah.
I know. When you do try to leave, as I did, there's a force that pulls you back in. It sucks you back. So once you're here, you're just here. All right. So going
Absolutely.
back to the question around purpose, right? I mean, it's such an abstract sort of concept, and it's almost trending lately. But I really want us to unpack this here today. So we know that Apple's purpose or their fundamental values are to inspire people to think different. Coke sells happiness. What is our core purpose, and not just as SHA, as an industry, for someone who really just doesn't understand what we do and thinks we're the bad guys? How would you, in one sentence, just tell them what is our purpose as an industry? Anyone can go.
Okay. I think it's to really reinstill the faith that we have in what we do and how we do it. Yeah. Bring back the professionalism. And I'm not saying there's no professionalism, but I think it's teetered a little. Bring back the open lines of communication. Bring back client service. That for me is super important. I mean, we're all clients in our own right. Yeah. And nothing drives me more up the wall than I'll give you an example. I recently ordered couches for my dogs, and I got given a deadline by the client, by the people that I was buying the couches from, and they missed it by 10 days because they only started realizing that they didn't have the material 4 weeks after I had ordered it, which was the deadline for delivery date. Yeah. Drives me nuts. They could have just phoned me right in the beginning and said, sorry guys, we don't have what you're looking for, but we can offer you alternatives, or just keep those lines of communication open.
Yeah.
Just that communication. I know that we're all busy, and we are all super busy, and we all tend to get stuck in doing quotes or claims or whatever the case might be. But if a client phones, just have that extra 5-minute chat. How are you doing? How's your family doing? We've lost that interpersonal kind of relationship, I think, to a little degree. And that for me is what gets me up in the morning, knowing that one call, one email, one interaction with a client might make their day. And it'll keep them coming back, because for that 5 seconds of that discussion, they felt good about what they were asking us, or asking for assistance or getting quotes or whatever the case might be. So I think for me, it's nothing that an educated person would need to be doing. It's just going back to the absolute basics. If you wouldn't like being treated this way, then don't treat others that way.
Customer centricity, so placing the customer at the center of it all, and remembering why we do what we do, right? We're not just pushing papers. Junior, what is it for you? How do you understand purpose, and how do you sort of connect your everyday job to a bigger purpose, if I can put it that way? Do you connect it to a bigger purpose, or is it just about, ticking off your to-do list every day?
I think for me, it is the one saying that insurance is never bought but sold. And a lot of times we miss it because we sort of look at it as everyone just has to have insurance because, for instance, professionals have to have insurance. The buildings have to buy public liability. They have to. But if we actually sell and show people exactly the need for the insurance, because a lot of times it is a grudge, and everyone wants to save as much as possible where they can. And if we show them the real purpose for having the insurance, the real purpose for that building being put up and the insurance being in place and making sure that nothing goes wrong with that building, those I think the essentials, just to make sure everyone really understands the real purpose for safeguarding their equipment or their buildings or their lives, in fact. So for me, for me, it is just showing that there is a real need at the end of that paper.
Simon, your comments? Are we not showing the value enough to change this narrative and around our bad rep? What are we not doing right as an industry?
Thanks, Nani, and to everyone else. I think those are all really great points. But for me, the purpose of insurance, I don't think has really changed much over the last few hundred years, actually. What has changed a lot is how people perceive it. If you look back at, even in fact, before the Lloyd's kind of era, if you go back to Phoenician and Babylonian traders, the way they dealt with insurance, they obviously didn't call it that, but if you wanted to take your goods down the river to the next city, it became evident that there's a whole bunch of stuff that could happen before it gets there. And a lot of people lost everything because, once it's on the water, you don't have a lot of control over whether you're going to knock into something, or there's going to be a storm, or attacked by pirates or robbers, whatever. So there were all these risks that somebody faced when they wanted to do something, to exercise their dreams, to be able to grow their business, to be able to increase the wealth or the legacy of their families. There was this thing that was stopping them from doing that, and that was the risk of losing it all. And so, then someone came along and said, I tell you what, before you head off down the river, why don't you give me like 1 barrel of grain as payment, and if something goes wrong, I'll replace the other 9. If nothing goes wrong, I keep the 1 barrel, and you've lost 1 barrel, but at least you knew that if something went wrong, the others were going to be safe. Now, when that transaction happened, obviously that trader went, shit, that's a good deal because I could lose 10 and it's only going to cost me 1. You know, the value was evident because the risks were understood.
Yeah.
You know, that guy knew what could go wrong and what the cost would be. But, you know, when you watch TV, I mean, 9 out of 10 insurance ads are price-based.
Yes.
You know, like they don't talk about the trauma that goes with, you know, losing an arm in a factory accident or building a bridge that collapses because you made a mistake with the drawings as an architect or an engineer. And the value that insurance brings to the people that have it when something goes wrong. You know, instead it's all focused on, like what Junior said, you know, the selling of it.
Yeah.
And the way that insurance is sold around the world generally is on price. And I'm sorry to say, but we've allowed this to happen, partly because often the people that sell it don't have enough information or understanding to explain what all the benefits are. I looked at something the other day, just as an example. A client was looking to buy a cyber insurance policy for the first time. Now, they were only buying it because a client of theirs said, well, you're not allowed to come in here, you're not allowed to work on our systems until you can show you've got cyber insurance and PI. So their motivation to get it had nothing to do with the threat of loss.
Yeah.
It had everything to do with getting this deal. So when the broker went to see the client, he didn't change that way they were looking at it, you know. So they were obviously thinking, I just want to get this deal, which means I need the cheapest possible cover. I don't even care what it covers. I just need to be able to show that I have it. And that is where the mistakes happen, you know. That is where we lose sight of the purpose. It's not so you can get a contract.
Yeah.
And it's certainly not so that you can get the best possible price. It's so that if something happens that you didn't think about or that you were worried about, if that happens and you could lose everything, yeah, that you can pick up the phone or call your broker or whatever and say, oh, thank God you sold me this thing because this has happened now.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think for any business owner, you know, the real purpose of insurance should be that this thing that I buy enables me to do what I do, like to the best of my ability, whether it's building bridges or operating on patients or driving trucks. You know, I can live out my dreams. I can fulfill my individual purpose, my business purpose, because I have this insurance thing. And that's why we, you know, at SHA, we spoke about insuring hopes and dreams.
Yeah.
Because that's what we felt our insurance does. The person that buys it is able to live out their hopes and dreams with some of that fear of loss removed from them. You know, they can take risks knowing that there's protection.
Yeah.
And that's what I understand purpose to be in our industry.
Yeah. Wow, that's couldn't have said it better. I see Danny and Junior nodding away as well. You hit the nail on the head, Simon. And those are the kind of stories we want to shed light on. We want to shed light on those stories where, you know, a small business almost went out of business because of a huge claim that's hit them. But, you know, the insurance company has come to their rescue and assisted them with defense costs and the like. Those are the stories that are not getting told. And maybe we can play our small part and to start to change that narrative so that we shift that mentality. All right. So in closing now, what words of, you know, as your final remarks, would you tell a young person who maybe wants to come into the industry but is not sure, you know, what is so amazing about this industry and the work that we're doing? So to someone that is not sure about their career path. Junior?
Yeah, okay. I think for me, I really underestimated insurance when I came in. I looked at insurance as this buildings and just the material things that were just there. I didn't see insurance as something bigger, where you could insure people's lives, for instance, as Danny was saying. I didn't see it as weather being involved in insurance. I didn't see IT being involved in insurance at the beginning. So there's a huge aspect of insurance that a lot of people don't even understand exists. I normally see my family when they phone me, they say, "Oh, by the way, you work in insurance. Can you help me with my life policy?" And I'm like, my life policy, how it works. But I have one myself as a client, So yeah, there's so much aspects of insurance that a lot of young people don't understand, and they should come into insurance with an open mind that
Yeah.
they can actually grow in it, and there's so much to learn in insurance, and it makes the world just go around.
It literally does. And we're not just trying to promote it. This is genuinely the truth.
It's
I'm an
real.
attorney. It's real. I'm an attorney by profession
True.
who's not doing marketing in the insurance industry, and it's given me the freedom to do this. So it really is vast in
Yeah.
nature. Danny, what is your final
True.
remarks?
I definitely think if you come into the industry, I've got a second junior, come in with an open mind, because it's not just insurance. There are so many different classes of insurance, and such a diverse nature to insurance itself. You will come in, like Junior said, with an open mind, but you will also find a class that speaks to you. And you'll be surrounded by these humans that have just learned through experience so much about that particular class of insurance or industry or whatever the case might be, that they are wanting to share and teach all of the time. You will never stop learning. You will always grow, because every little tidbit of information that you learn from somebody, you will be given the opportunity to pass that same information on to somebody else. So you are learning and teaching at the same time. With legislation and the compliance around our industry as well, there is no way you can get stuck in a rut, because stuff is new. It's a very fast-paced industry. It's a very exciting industry. In my field, it's super exciting, because you get to, like I said earlier, deal with those human bodies, and you get to physically see the difference you make in somebody's life. You are potentially the industry that, as we've all said before, makes the difference between somebody being able to carry on functioning in a new physical form versus somebody who is absolutely destitute as a result of a claim that they didn't have cover for. So you get to be that person or that industry that makes a massive impact on somebody's life. And there is nothing nicer than knowing you've made a difference. Every day, each day, it doesn't matter how big or small that difference is. With all the learning, really, you've just got to join the industry. You will not be sorry, and you will find a home in this industry.
Beautiful, Danny. Thanks. Simon, your final closing remarks?
Yeah, I think I'd like to just say that, the industry's been professionalized a lot, particularly since, when I joined in the 90s, I think the industry had a reputation to some extent of, if you couldn't hack it as an estate agent, you kind of landed up in an insurance company. Not that there's anything wrong with insurance or estate agents, but I think now people actually study insurance because they want to get into the industry. But that's only a very small percentage of people that join that have studied, risk and insurance. And I think this is where the industry is so amazing, and both Danny and Junior have touched on it. In that, if you're currently studying engineering, or you're studying law or medicine, or accounting, there's a place for you in this industry. Engineering underwriters for quite some time now have really only been employing engineers. I know certainly at SHA now we're looking for someone to join our cyber team, and we're looking in the cyber security environment. We're not looking for someone with underwriting experience, So I think if you're a professional and you're studying towards something else, don't think that insurance is off limits, because in all the, because we insure everything. Everything is insurable, definitely, which means expertise is required in each of those fields. And I think that's what makes it so different to other industry sectors, that there's something in it for everyone, and we could use those skills. And if you're not studying at university and you've just kind of left school, or you've been to one of the CETAs, I mean, it's a great way to experience an industry that could send you in a million different directions. I've been involved in liability insurance for 3/4 of my career, because I was lucky. I found it early. I think, like Danny said, she knew that once she was in it, she was interested in the health side of things, and it was the same for me. But I know some of my colleagues have worked in, I mean, even if you look at here on this little panel here, I know Junior is one of the few people I know actually that spent time in almost every area of the specialist business unit that we're in. And he's good at all of those things. It's not like he decided he wanted to move because he wasn't. So I just think it's extremely diverse. And you can earn a great living. Let's not forget that. The industry pays well compared to other industries. So, I've put through a couple of kids through university, and I've definitely not ever sat back and gone, wow, I wish I was in a different industry because I could have earned more money. So I think that's also important. So yeah, if you're young, even not so young, and you're thinking of getting into something new and exciting, I think the insurance industry has
Simon, we lost you there, that last bit, but I think we got the gist.
Am I?
Are you still there? Okay.
Okay, sorry.
Lost
Yes,
you a little bit there, but I think we caught the gist of what you're saying. So thank you so much, everyone. This has really been insightful, and I hope that it's the beginning of something bigger, that we continue to have and share these conversations with our colleagues in the insurance industry, with our friends and family that are not in the industry, that don't know what it's about. I'm hoping that this will be an ongoing initiative and that we'll share more stories. But that is it today from us here at A Special Brew. Catch us on the next episode. Cheers.